What we're doing is we're forcing this government, with a vote, we're forcing Parliament to decide on whether or not Mr. Johnston should continue. I think that's a serious question.
With a majority vote in the House of Commons to fire David Johnston, the former Governor General of Canada, and Justin Trudeau's handpicked special rapporteur on the issue of China interference into our election, Mr. Johnston has rejected the House of Commons. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Fraser Macdonald and Brian Lilley. Brian, I know that there are a lot of people out there that are like, well, how does Parliament work? How does our Commonwealth work? What is going on? How can this guy just reject what our democratically elected politicians said, and he just gets to carry on with his job? Maybe we should explain this a little bit.
Well, it was a vote of 174 in favor of firing Johnston and calling a public inquiry headed up by somebody that all parties in the House of Commons agree on, to 150 against. Those were all Liberals, plus currently independent, former Liberal MP Han Dong. He had voted for the last public inquiry. He didn't vote for this one. So Johnston turns around and he issues a statement saying, it's all well and good that you express your opinion. No, I think it's called the will of Parliament, Mr. Johnston. He calls it an opinion, but says his mandate comes from the government. So he views himself as an employee of Justin Trudeau, and he's going to stick around until Trudeau tells him to go. Well, if Trudeau won't tell him to go, and he's made it clear he won't, then MPs should tell Trudeau he has to go and force an election. This is an untenable situation.
So technically then on that, Fraser, he doesn't actually have to go by the will of the Parliament, if that's the sort of job description that he's going under. But aside from that, there's a serious ethical question, all sorts of issues regarding David Johnston's high praise of the Chinese Communist Party and his involvement with China in the past. That's all come to light, which finally brought Jagmeet Singh to the table to say enough is enough. I actually think more, Fraser, it was his MP, Jenny Kwan, that said, I am now being targeted. We need to do something. So the issue of then forcing an election, is there any appetite for that you see from the NDP?
No, I don't. And I think that's the unfortunate part of all of this, is that ultimately Johnston answers to Trudeau, and he's right that he is working for the executive branch and not Parliament. And that's exactly the problem. So it's time for Parliament to get their big boy shoes on and actually make something happen here. But until the NDP decides that they're going to actually put their money where their mouth is, there's no ability to pressure the Prime Minister to do anything different. So as it stands right now, it looks like he's getting away with it.
No confidence that the Prime Minister is going to do anything, Brian. Is it possible that the House will just simply be prorogued, rise? What could happen?
The Trudeau Liberals are trying to downplay the rumors that have been swirling for a week or two now that if things get too sticky, that they'll prorogue Parliament, they'll shut it down. They're saying that's not going to happen. Okay, good. The House has a few options before it. If Mr. Singh doesn't want to call an election, well, he can still say to Justin Trudeau, if you won't call an inquiry, then our agreement is off. That doesn't force an election. That just makes the government's life more difficult, because they then have to go on a case-by-case basis trying to ensure that they have the votes to pass anything through the House of Commons. The other things that the MPs on the opposition benches could do is decide, we're going to slow everything down. We're going to use every procedural tactic that we have to basically grind Parliament to a halt until an inquiry is called. I think they should be looking at all of these options. And, if the government will not bend to the will of Parliament, then eventually they do have to force a non-confidence vote. I don't want an election more than anybody else, but I also can't have, how do we stand to have a government in power who we have evidence that they were aided by China in the last election, and they won't even properly investigate this? Think about it. They handpicked someone to write a report who has nothing in it about the Trudeau Foundation, because he used to head up the Trudeau Foundation. He has nothing in it from the Conservatives, nothing in it from CSIS, that CSIS has now confirmed to Jenny Kwan, to Michael Chong, to Aaron O'Toole. And this government doesn't want to investigate any of that. They want to shut the committees down, bog it down. They want to continue to block the release of documents from the Winnipeg lab issue. They won't shut down Chinese police stations operating in Canada, intimidating Chinese Canadians. Well, at a certain point, you've got to say, if you won't do the job, you don't deserve to be in your current job, Mr. Trudeau.
Fraser, I'm going to give you the last word here. For up until a certain period of time, David Johnston's reputation in this country amongst those that matter, I suppose, or have an opinion on it, it was quite pristine. And I'm not going to say stellar, but it was in good shape. It's now taken a beating. That reputation is very much under fire, and justifiably so, and for all the reasons that Brian just listed. But I'm wondering, outside of the notion for a public inquiry, which the majority of Canadians want, and we rightfully deserve, are there any mechanisms as a parliamentary committee? Is there some ability for them to do the work that clearly the office of the Prime Minister does not want done?
Well, absolutely. Parliamentary committees can look into this, and they tried to, and the NDP voted to support the government in not fully investigating these matters. So yes, they can, but with the NDP having been co-opted by the Liberals, they effectively have a majority government, and they're effectively shutting down any proper investigation here.
Well, Canada deserves answers, and we should have confidence in our electoral system. Log on to Facebook and Twitter. Let us know what you think, and go to theTorontoSun.com. Hit that subscribe button. You will find more information on stories like this and others you will not find anywhere else.